Hello, welcome back to my channel where we discuss the MCC laws of cricket. In this episode, we'll be talking about Law 4, the ball. This is one of the implements of the game, and the laws define the weight and circumference of a ball for men's cricket, for women's, and for junior cricket. What is important for the umpires to note is that the measurements given in the laws are for a new ball. They are not for an old ball. And if it so happens that it can very well happen that if it's a wet ground, you're playing on a wet ground or a lot of dew, the ball may absorb some moisture and its circumference might slightly increase, or it may gain some weight also. In these circumstances, the umpire is not expected to take fresh measurements on the ground and then change the ball. That would not be proper. Of course, if the ball becomes soggy and owing to absorption of moisture, or has taken a dip into a nearby pool or moat, as some stadiums have, it could be rendered unfit for play. In that case, you can change it. But I do not see it as a good idea even for umpires to carry a ball gauge onto the field of play, because these refer to. But the ICC, I believe, has instructed umpires that carry the ball gauge with you. The roundness of if a ball is ever referred to you for, or you need to check on the shape of the ball, the roundness of the ring and the ball placed on it can indicate to you that the ball has lost shape and therefore is to be considered as unfit for play. But we never carried a ball gauge with us because then it was not required at all. Now, coming to the approval and control of the balls, there are some instructions for umpires regarding this. The balls to be used having first been determined by the umpire shall be in the possession of the umpires. Now the balls will be determined by the umpires. They will check the balls and the measurements of the ball, etc. I'll come to that in a little bit. But as regards possession, they shall take possession of the ball during the match, before the toss, and shall remain in their control throughout the match. This is important for the umpires to do that. All the complement of balls, say maybe 12, maybe 15, they will also select some old balls, approve some old balls to be kept aside for replacements, old balls of different wear, so that the replacement can be quick. And the instructions also, an important instruction is given here to umpires on the field of play, that they shall take possession of the ball in use at the fall of each wicket and at the start of each interval and interruption of play. We do the latter always, taking charge of the ball at the start of an interval and interruption, because that is where it stays in our coat pocket and we hang it up there in the dressing room while we have tea or lunch. But these instructions which are relatively new, that after the fall of every wicket, the umpire should take. You've seen it often, I suppose, umpires taking possession of the ball. The player will toss it. Now it become a habit. The player will toss the ball to the bowler and umpire, one of the umpires. This is because over the years there have been a lot of instances of ball tampering, and the ball is not in sight of the umpires, and then it is fiddled with. So this is a precaution to be taken by umpires. These instructions are issued for that purpose. Now there is to hear about checking of the balls and the weighing and the measurements of the ball prior to the start of the match. My view is, whatever be the standards in your country about the manufacturing standards in your country, the umpires here are supposed to be, as per the laws, are responsible for this, and I think they should do a minimum check about the circumference and the weight of the ball. It doesn't take all that long. There is a reason for it. Let me tell you that what happened with me in a game. I always check the ball. I always check the ball and the measurement. This for any game. I was once at Bangalore to umpire an Irani Trophy match, and Bangalore is a center where we have a lot of good off-field support from former umpires and all that. And before, on the day prior to the game, we are supposed to visit and check the wickets and all that, and check the implements. I asked for the balls to be checked. The gentleman in charge, one Mr. Shekhar, a good friend since, said, no, MR, I have checked it, you need not check it at all. I said, look, I'd like to check it because that is my job to do so. And I did check it, check the balls. I didn't find a single one. He'd done a good job. We had 12 selected 12 balls. He'd done a good job, and I found that maybe Mr. Shekhar was a little upset about my insisting on checking. I didn't trust him too much. I said, look, Shekhar, I'm here to do a job, and my job includes checking the implements of the game, and I must do it. There is another aspect to it. Now, we had some big players playing in that game. Bengal had won the Irani Trophy, and the rest of India. Arun Lal was leading Bengal. Saurav was a youngster then, and Ravi Shastri was leading rest of India. Now, if it so happened that I have not checked the balls earlier and left it to somebody else to do it, delegated it, and if Ravi Shastri had come to me telling me, "Emma, this ball looks a little big, little too big," what do you think my reaction will be at that time? I would be a bit shaken, I think. Oh, has Shekhar done a good job? But if I have myself checked it, my response to Ravi would have been, look, I've checked it myself, there is nothing wrong with the ball. Maybe something is wrong. That is why it is important for you to check these two reasons. You are there to do a job, and having checked, you cannot be challenged, and your confidence level in responding to a challenge on this particular aspect, there will be a big difference in the way you will deal with it. I think therefore every umpire must go and check the balls. They should. I can tell you of another instance that I was umpiring a game at Salem. Tamil Nadu versus Karnataka, very, very big stars playing. Venkataraman was leading Tamil Nadu, Gundappa Vishwanath, Vijay Patel, everybody was there in that game, Sayyid Kirmani. It was a star-studded match. Now, we were staying in a hotel where one Mr. Bhupati, late Mr. Bhupati of Tamil Nadu, he used to be long-term manager of Tamil Nadu, was there. We were in the same hotel, and he mentioned it. I was there early, and we met on the morning of the previous day, and he said, Mr. Singh, I have got the compliment of balls, and you can have them anytime you want, because they were the host team. He had brought them with him from Chennai, at that time Madras. So I got them to my room and I checked. You won't believe it. I did not even use the weighing scale, but merely on size I could approve only 3 out of the 12. Now I had a big problem. Only 3 out of 12 So I accosted Mr. Bhupati and I told him, is that what has happened? Somebody in Madras had checked this, and so look, what I'll do is R. Venkataraman is coming from Chennai. Tomorrow morning he'll bring a fresh complement of balls. Now I got them, and the next morning, early morning, he came by train, and I checked the complement of balls, and we found those were all right, and we continued with the game. It would be have been a very serious lapse on our part if we had gone into the game with balls which did not comply with the terms. It is our duty to ensure that this happens. I think that is an important role of the umpires, and we should be doing it. I had, that same day I had called in Mr. Bhupati because he said somebody there and some test umpire had checked it there, he told me. And I brought him to our room for tea, and I showed it to him actually. I showed it to him. Look, I'm only using the ball gauge, and I can approve only 3. So sometimes you ought to do it, and you should always be checking the implements of the game, the wickets, the bails, and the stumps, the length of the stumps, and all that, the pitch measurement. We'll come to all of that later, but I want to stress the importance of every umpire. That please do it. It is your job to do it, and the reasons why, in case your question, your confidence level will be that much different if you have checked and if you not checked. Right? There are some other provisions in this particular law 4. This is regarding the new ball at the start of each innings. Now this is a very good, interesting piece of legislation, and I would want you to particularly note this and implement it. Let me give you a situation. A game has started, and naturally it will start with a new ball. The second innings is also played with a new ball, and each innings the new ball is generally used. Now it so happens that we are in the last 30 minutes. Side is out just 30 minutes before close of the match on the 3rd day or the 4th day, and the 2 captains approach you, and there is no prospect of any result, and the 2 captains tell you, sir, can we use an old ball for the new innings? What will be your answer is my question to you. Will you allow the use of an old ball, or will you prohibit and tell them no, a new ball has to be used in every innings? I want you to look closely at this particular law. It says that either captain may demand a new ball at the start of each innings unless before the match there is an agreement to the contrary. That means there is an agreement to use an old ball. There is no agreement to use an old ball. So therefore it lies upon either of the 2 captains to demand a new ball. Because of this trick of legislation, naturally in a competitive match, no captain is going to allow his opponent to play with an old ball and maybe use it to his advantage. So it will go on normally that a new ball will be used. But if we come to a situation where it doesn't matter, I can only think of where it doesn't matter to the game, that the 2 captains come and ask you, both of them, neither of them demands a new ball. Neither of them demands a new ball, an old ball may be used. Make particular note about this and think about it. The idea is the law is flexible. The law is flexible and allows the 2 sides to do what they want to do given the situation. And if there is any competitive element left in the match, no captain is going to allow the use of the old ball to his opponent. That is how it works. That is why I told you it's a very clever piece of legislation, and I want you to appreciate that. Now coming to a new ball in a match of more than 1 day's duration. We all know that after a certain the life of the ball is say 80, 90, 100 overs, and it is allowed that the ball after 80 overs can be changed at the option of the captain of the fielding side, and he can opt then for a new ball. He can do so in the middle of the over also. It doesn't have to be at the end of an over. More than 80, he can if he's got the spinners to exploit the old ball, or the pitch is such, he can allow the use of that ball, opt to use that ball continuously even after the 80 overs are done, as long as the ball is fit for play. Yes. Now here we come to something interesting, that an example, 80.2 overs, 80 overs and 2 balls have been bowled, and since he can demand a new ball at any time after 80 overs have been bowled with the old ball, his bowler asks for a ball in the middle of that over. When will the next new ball be due is the question. Now will it be after 80 plus 80, 160, or will it be after 81 plus 60 after 161 overs have been bowled? Naturally, the umpires have to note down in their diary that yes, the new ball has been taken at 80.2. I would put it as 81 plus 80, so 161. Only after the scoreboard shows 161 overs on the board, I will allow them the new ball. Because this law says, if there is any doubt in your mind, I would like to clarify that this law says that when it is time for that second ball to be changed, suppose you take it 80 plus 80, and when it is 160 overs on the board, how many overs have been bowled with the second new ball? It is less than 80 completed overs. It is less than 80 completed overs. So therefore, to ensure that you abide by this regulation, you have to take 81 plus 80, so that only after 161 overs are there on the board, you can allow the use of the third ball. I hope I have made my point clear. You are welcome to query this if you want. The procedure is that whenever a ball is changed, inform the other umpire and indicate to the batters and the scorers whenever a new ball is taken into play. You have seen in the signals, one of the signals is the umpire holds up a ball to the scorer to tell him that look, we are taking a new ball. He has to inform, so that the scorer also will make a note there, just like you have made in your diary. He'll make a note there, and you can later on, when you go off, you corroborate this with him, as it is good practice to do it, so that you are both on the same page. You ask him, what have you noted? So he should be noting the same thing as you have done. Fine? About it's a good practice for umpires to carry a new ball with them if it is due in that particular session, because you know that 80 overs are about to be over, and there has been a lunch break, or after tea break you may carry it. We don't have a court nowadays, so I used to put it in my shirt and carry it there. It looks all that much better for the umpires to the second the ball is demanded, a new ball is demanded, fish it out of your pocket and hand it over to them, and keep the old ball back, take the old ball back, rather than signal to the fourth official or to the scorers to bring in the new ball. I think it is better practice. Umpires really ought to do this. I would suggest to the young umpires to follow this practice. It looks so much better. It is umpiring efficiency is what you are wanting. That is what you are wanting to aim at, this is part of it. Now this law also tells us about what is to be done when a ball is lost or it becomes unfit for play. Now a ball may be lost, it cannot be found, it has been hit out of the ground, or it cannot be recovered. It is there, you see it, but you can't reach it. It cannot be recovered, whether within the ground, within the playing area, or outside. You can see it, it cannot be recovered. Or that the umpires agree that the ball has become unfit for play through normal use. Now, in such cases, the umpires are instructed to replace the ball with one which has had comparable use. It won't be exactly the same. You can't get anything exactly the same. It has to be of comparable use, and you will select from the complement of old balls that you have already approved earlier. You will pick up one, and according to you, the nearest you think that matches the old ball, you put that into play. And here it is important that this note the words that through normal use. It has become unfit for play through normal use, because if it becomes unfit for play, or it has been rendered unfit due to mischief, another set of laws tell you how to deal with that situation, which we will be discussing later under Law 41. But where it is through normal wear, you will replace with a ball comparable in use, whether it is lost or whether it cannot be recovered or has become unfit through normal use. This is to be this is important to be noted, and of course then you have to inform the batters and the fielding captain, and you don't need to tell the score or anything. Inform the batters, you change the ball please, and the new ball has come in. We ball a complement of the fourth official brought the balls there, you picked up one, you tell the batsman we'll change the ball please, and tell the fielding captain. Of course they know they are on the field of play, but this is procedure, and you ought to tell them. Now this brings us to the end of the law 4. In the next session we will be discussing the law 5, the bat. I suggest you have a read before clicking on the next session. Thank you. Bye.